right, back to a question I asked earlier. What was the first scam in particular that got you interested in doing this, and what did you do with it?
That is a good question. I think the very first scam bait that I tried ended in dismal failure, and it was stillborn. And so I never actually put that on my website because it was really boring. One of the first ones that became very interesting for me is I was able to convince one scammer that I myself was a Nigerian scammer. I used a program that would translate my text into a Nigerian quasi-English, and I sent that to him. And so he started giving me victim names, and then I was able to call people up and warn them. And so far I've gotten like about 20 of these or so, and that's been great fun. And of course it's very satisfying to know that you can keep someone from losing their livelihood or destroying their life.
So even though these are slimy, sleazy people, it seems like there's a camaraderie amongst themselves.
Oh, somewhat. However, they are incredible backstabbers, and I've, from personal experience, know that when given the opportunity, they will gladly turn on each other. Occasionally, these gangs do work in groups, but I've had one called the Anderson-Tubman scam, which is on my website. Again, it's 419hell.com. And the Anderson-Tubman gang that was running it, they had a terrible breakdown in their solidarity. And at one point, there were 4 different groups of people who claimed they were the real Anderson Tubman, and they were trying to all were trying to get my money from me first. So of course, I played each of them and tried to see how long I could keep them going, and it lasted, I think, for like 9 months.
So has this become a full-time position for you?
It has, and I'm afraid that I'm going to have to slow down a little bit and concentrate on my other websites that actually make money. But this is, yes, it's been a passion of mine, and it's helped a lot of people, and it's increased awareness. And yes, it's been my full-time job for almost a year now.
Well, I want to talk to you more about the way you've been able to immerse yourself into this and infiltrate some of these people, how you've done it, how they've ended, other things going on, and the other websites too that we've that you just mentioned in passing that you actually make the money on. We certainly want to give that some love. We'll take a break real quick. Paul Kinsella is with us, and again, 419hell.com, the website to read up more about these scams and what's being done to fight them. One man's crusade, absolutely. Quick break, back in a moment on KMOX. The cover story in this past week's RFT, and it's the tale of Paul Kinsella from New Athens, Illinois, and his efforts to reel in West African email hucksters, one scammer at a time. That's the title of it from Nicholas Phillips. Actually, the story in big letters on the cover says Master Bader, and there's a picture of him in a Cub Scout outfit. And did you have any idea that was their plan for the front of the paper?
No, it was kind of a surprise, but I knew they, of course, took my picture. I dressed as about 8 of my baiting identities.
I noticed that.
Yes, and so it was made for great art for the show, and it was a lot of fun. Now, I got one call from a very nice gentleman who complained about the uniform because he recognized the badges and stuff, and he didn't care so much for the. He was a Cub Scout master, and he didn't care so much for the image that it kind of portrayed. But he was very polite, so I apologized to him.
But
so.
Did you freak when you saw the cover and thought, oh no?
Well, no, actually, I was glad because it does draw the eye. I mean, there are a lot of people who will pick it up, and of course they'll want to read the story, and then hopefully the more people who know about this scam, the fewer people who will fall for it.
419hell.com, the website that chronicles these things, including the phone calls that have transpired between some of these African scammers and our guests. 419, I assume, referring to a bill that makes this stuff illegal, right?
No, but that's a good guess. It refers to the 419th article of the Nigerian Constitution that deals with fraud.
Oh, I see. So what, I know you talk about in the article your frustrations with our government because you find some of these guys, you track them down, you prove what they're doing, and the U.S. government says, well, we can't really do anything.
Right. I've talked to everybody I could because I realized that people who would see the website, they see that I was able to get scammers to meet me at a specific location, like at a certain gate at an airport, or to meet me in front of a courthouse building. And one of the scammers I even got on video because I had him meet me at a place that has a public video camera out. Anyway, the scammer. So that people wanted to know, well, why didn't you call the police? Well, I did. I called the Canadian police. I called the London police. I called the British Secret Service, the FBI, the State's Attorney's Office, the Federal Attorney's Office, and the head of the Cyber Crimes Division of the FBI.
Well, you obviously didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, okay. And I talked to everybody, and everyone, for the most part, was very polite. But they basically told me either they didn't care or that it wasn't their job. They said that they don't have the manpower or the resources, which is another way of saying they don't care, because they have the resources to go after Tommy Chong when he was selling bongs on the internet, and while I admit that's a terrible crime, okay, I just would think that these guys who are stealing money from people and ruining their lives probably deserve a little attention too.
Well, what about the whole aspect of Tommy Chong, a U.S. citizen, and he's here? You're crossing date lines. You're dealing with the laws of other countries. I would think that's a big part of the hang-up there.
Yes, it is. And for the most part, scammers do tend to scam people outside of their country. So if you're a scammer, a Nigerian scammer who's in England, you scam people who are in America or Japan and places like that. If you're a scammer who's hiding in America, and supposedly we have about 6,000 of them living here, then you scam people in Canada or Japan or someplace like that. That way you're protected. Now you could say, well, the FBI then can't go after these people. No, of course not. They set them up. What you do then, and I could do this for free if they would like, I would pretend to be a Canadian. And then I wait till a scammer in the United States tries to scam me, and then I arrange for a meeting in St. Louis. Then the scammers would come and pick him up and arrest him for fraud. That doesn't sound very hard, and it probably isn't, but unfortunately our government just doesn't care enough to do that.
So I hope the answer is no, but I'm afraid it isn't. How do we rank? How do U.S. citizens rank on the victim front worldwide?
I believe that we are a little less than a fourth of the victims. Other countries share the burden. Are you asking, like, are Americans more gullible than other people?
Yeah, I figured we probably would have been the number one target.
I think we're the number one target, but that's just because we're a very large and very wealthy country. I don't think Americans are particularly vulnerable to this. It strikes other countries, Brazil, Mexico, Japan. Everybody that has money has been burned by 419 scammers.
Now let's talk about the gullibility aspect of it. You have found victims who have already sent money in. You have laid this all out to them to say, look, this is a scam. You're not going to realize the profits that they talk about in the letters. And you talk about in the story your frustrations about people that even faced with all this information still won't stop.
Right. There's one person in particular. His name is JJ, and he's on the website. You can hear my very long conversations that I've had with him. I think it's over 2 hours. You don't have to listen to the whole thing if you don't want to. But I tried my best to convince him about the scam, and he believed me only part way. He believed the gentleman I was calling about in particular was the scammer, but unfortunately there's like 10 identities that were scamming him at the time, and he would tell me about them, and they were obvious scams, and then I tried to explain to him that they were scams, and I just could not get through the layers of denial that were protecting him. I talked to his secretary, and I talked to his wife, and they both know that they're scams, and they've done everything they can to stop him, and the wife even threatened divorce. And so when I heard that, I kind of realized I have no chance, because if the wife, is threatening divorce and he still can't be woken up to the fact that he's being scammed, then certainly an anonymous person who's using a fake name who's trying to warn him is not gonna do any good.